They thought they had won. The enemy was retreating. Day after day, always visible, always just out of reach. To the princes of the Rus, this meant only one thing. The war was almost over. What they did not know was that this retreat was not fear. It was design. In 1223, near a river most people have never heard of, an entire world misunderstood what it was facing, and that misunderstanding would echo for generations. Because this was not a battle meant to be won. It was a warning meant to be ignored. The Mongols did not come west to conquer. Not yet. They came to observe. In the early 13th century, Eastern Europe had never heard the word Mongol. Danger to the Rus principalities had always come from familiar directions. Rival princes, neighboring kingdoms, steppe raiders who struck quickly and vanished just as fast. These were known threats, understandable threats. The Mongols were none of these. The Rus lands were divided politically, militarily, psychologically. Power was scattered among competing princes, each ruling his own territory, each guarding his own interests. Cooperation existed in theory, but in practice it was fragile and temporary. Each prince commanded his own army. Each army answered to its own banner. There was no unified command, no shared strategy, no single authority capable of imposing discipline once pressure mounted. Far to the east, a different kind of power was moving across the open steppe. Subutai and Jebe, two of Genghis Khan's most capable generals, were not sent west in 1223 to seize land or occupy cities. Their mission was a reconnaissance on a continental scale. They were measuring the world beyond the steppe. They wanted to know how quickly armies assembled, how leaders reacted to uncertainty, how coalitions formed, and how easily they fractured. Every movement they made was designed to extract information. When the Mongols defeated the Cumans, nomadic allies of the Rus, panic spread rapidly across the steppe. The Cumans fled west in desperation, bringing with them warnings no one fully understood. "Today it is our land," they said. "Tomorrow it will be yours." The Rus listened, and then they made their first mistake. They assumed the Mongols were simply another steppe people. Dangerous perhaps, but temporary. A force that could be repelled with enough manpower. A threat that numbers alone could neutralize. This assumption shaped every decision that followed. Messengers rode across the principalities. Troops gathered from different regions, under different commanders with different expectations. Tens of thousands answered the call. Princes arrived with banners, infantry, cavalry, and confidence. Against them stood a Mongol force that was smaller, faster, and completely underestimated. They believed superiority in numbers would decide the outcome. They believed strength alone would be enough. When the Rus army finally encountered the Mongols, something unexpected happened. The Mongols withdrew, not in panic, not in disorder, not under pressure. They withdrew calmly, maintaining formation, keeping distance, always visible but never reachable. Each day they retreated just far enough to remain ahead, never so far as to disappear. The Rus followed. Day after day, the pursuit continued. What began as a massive coalition slowly turned into a stretched column of men, horses, and supplies, moving for miles. An army built on numbers was losing its only advantage. The princes believed they were pressing an advantage. Victory, they thought, was inevitable. But as the chase stretched on, something subtle began to happen. The Rus army began to stretch. Different contingents marched at different speeds. Supplies lagged behind, coordination weakened, units lost contact with one another, discipline eroded. Each prince advanced according to his own judgment. Some pushed forward aggressively, others hesitated. There was no central authority capable of enforcing unity. The Mongols observed all of it. They watched how quickly the coalition fractured, how easily command collapsed under strain, How trust dissolved once pressure increased. The Rus believed they were pursuing a defeated enemy. In reality, they were being dismantled without a single blow. The Rus princes believed they were advancing with overwhelming force, perhaps 4 times the size of the army ahead of them. What they did not understand was that size was exactly what the Mongols were waiting for. By the time the armies reached the banks of the Kalka River, the Rus coalition was no longer a unified force. It was a collection of separate armies moving in the same direction, but no longer acting as one. It was at Kalka that the Mongols stopped retreating. There was no dramatic announcement, no grand formation of battle lines, no traditional declaration of engagement. Instead, the transition from retreat to attack was immediate and devastating. Mongol cavalry struck with speed and precision, exploiting every weakness they had carefully created. Isolated units were overwhelmed before reinforcements could arrive. Commanders found themselves cut off from their men. Orders went unheard or arrived too late to matter. The battle did not unfold as a single, organized clash. It fragmented into chaos almost instantly. Some Rus units fought fiercely, others collapsed under the sudden pressure. Attempts to regroup failed. The lack of coordination that had gone unnoticed during the pursuit now became fatal. The Mongols did not seek prolonged combat. They did not need it. Their objective was not attrition, but collapse. The battle was short, decisive, and merciless. Several Rus princes were captured alive. What followed was not uncontrolled brutality. It was deliberate, calculated, and symbolic. The Mongols laid wooden planks across the bound princes and held a victory feast on top of them, slowly crushing them to death beneath the weight of celebration. No blood was spilled, no swords were drawn. The message was unmistakable. Power, to the Mongols, was not merely the ability to defeat an enemy. It was the ability to demonstrate inevitability. After Kalka, the Mongols did not advance further west. They withdrew, and this withdrawal created the most dangerous illusion of all. The Rus believed the threat had passed. The enemy had come and gone. There were no cities occupied, no territories annexed, no permanent presence established. Kalka was treated as an unfortunate encounter, a tragic but isolated defeat. It was not understood for what it truly was. A warning. No major fortifications were built. No unified command structure was created. No serious military reform was undertaken. The divisions that had existed before Kalka remained unchanged. The lesson was missed. 13 years later, the Mongols returned. This time, they did not come to observe. They came to conquer. Cities fell one after another. Armies were crushed before they could coordinate. Entire principalities were erased from the map. Resistance collapsed not because the Rus lacked courage, but because they lacked preparation. Everything the Mongols did in the later invasion had already been demonstrated at Kalka. The tactics, the speed, the psychological pressure, the exploitation of division. Kalka had revealed all of it, but no one listened. The Battle of the Kalka River was not a defeat that ended an empire. It was worse. It was a defeat that taught nothing. History does not always announce itself with fire and destruction. Sometimes it speaks softly. Sometimes it offers a single warning, delivered quietly, and then moves on. Those who fail to hear it rarely get a second chance. We have reached the end of another journey, through the dusty pages of history, but the whispers of the past never cease. Subscribe to stay with us on this mysterious voyage.